So thank you for being with us today. As announced, and for those that tried to enter into this meeting a couple of weeks ago, we apologize again with the technical problems that we had because we changed the WebEx system. We went back to the old one to be on the safe side. So I hope everything will go smoothly. And this is our second masterclass, this one about contract management. I will introduce very briefly first the approach that we are following with our series of focus courses and masterclasses, and then we will go into the arena of contract management, which is a masterclass that is very introductory. Basically, the first part of what we typically explain in our courses, which is the strategy, setting up the strategy and establishing the function. But we will try to describe very briefly all the methodology that we are trying to disseminate among governments. Okay, so for you to understand the context of this talk, some of you already know this, and I saw that some of you were already in our first edition of Value for Money. We have a series of focus courses that you can learn about them in our website. One is a Value for Money, a focus on Value for Money. Another is a focus on fiscal impact of PPPs, managing the fiscal impact and the fiscal risk. Another one is risk management, following what we call the risk management cycle from identification towards the proactive management of the specific events. This topic, which is contract management, we have a full dedicated course for it. Commercial feasibility, which is one of the topics that we are now developing. So all of these courses, some of them are already available, some of them will be available during the next months. Why are we talking about this? Why do we want to disseminate in masterclasses these topics and create specific courses? The thing is, the management of PPPs is a cycle, and government needs guidelines to regulate the management of the cycle of each of the phases. Guidelines for developing processes, guiding through each of the processes, guidelines with methodology, and guidelines that should incorporate best practices. For those of you that are familiar with the CP3P methodology, the methodology of the PPP expert certificate promoted by the World Bank and the other multilaterals, this is a brief description of the cycle that is described in that methodology, with the first phase of identification and screening of a project as a PPP. Then we have the phase of evaluation and preparation, followed by structuring, when we prepare the contract and design the tender documents. Then we manage the tender, that is the fourth phase, and we have the two phases of contract management. This is pretty much covered with quite detail in the CP3P guide. However, there is a lack of training in the detail of the most relevant techniques and methodologies, and the processes of evaluating and managing specific aspects of the cycle, which is this list that I will describe very briefly now. This is the reason for us to disseminate specialized focused training on a number of areas that we feel that there is some kind of emptiness and lack of resources. These courses, the PPP focus courses and the master classes that introduce these courses, the aim is to help to develop processes. The processes that are foreseen in the CP3P certificate, but going through more detailed description of best practice. So we are parting from an analysis of international best practice in all of these cases, but also we try to incorporate a local context. Obviously, this can be only done in in-house modes for those cases that a particular government or a group of a specific country is asking us to tailor-made a specific course. Risk management is one of our courses. Probably we will be launching this by the end of this first semester. Value for money, we will go for the second edition later on this year. Cost benefit assessment is something that we are in the process of designing now. Fiscal impact management is the next one that is going to be announced. Commercial feasibility is something that probably we will wait to launch it to the next year. Managing tender process is also waiting, but contract management is already available. So we have announced the first edition, Spanish edition in 1 month, and another one in English in 3 or 4 months. So this is what we are going to cover in the PPP contract management course, which has a title Preserving Value for Money through an Effective Management of PPP Contracts. Basically, these are the contents. Designing the strategy. We will reflect about attitudes, resources, the operational framework, and some methodologies and tools to help in managing. This is going to be the core of the contents of this masterclass, okay? Then we will cover general activities in that course, managing relationships, managing knowledge, managing information, and managing risks. There is a third module, probably the most relevant and intense, which are the specific activities, or what we call the material management, that we will have a very brief description later on today. And the last part of our full course is about contract management and contract standards. What should be included in a contract to properly prepare itself, the contract, to be properly managed.